Video recording too. First question: why do we use scoring rubrics when assessing speaking and writing skills? Uh, it's because when we ask students for an opinion, or for example, to prepare a book report or for a summary of a reading, it is not possible to use, for example, fill in the gaps or yes no questions. You have to devise a criteria to evaluate them. That's why we um, consider holistic analytic criteria to assess them. Okay. Question two: what's the difference between holistic and analytic rubric? Okay. Uh, for this question, I've researched on the internet for Pearson 2018. I have found this information. For the case of a holistic rubric, we have that each category contains several criteria, yielding a single score that gives an overall rating. Um, on the contrary, analytic rubric, in this case, each criterion receives a separate score. In the same line of reasoning, we have for holistic rubric, it is used for summative assessment, whereas analytic rubric, in this case, it is useful as formative assessment. It provides feedback. Consequently, in the first case, holistic rubric reveals little specific information, whereas analytic rubric, in this case, students' strengths and weaknesses are more clearly expressed. And in the last characteristic for holistic rubric, it is simple and requires short time to create, whereas for analytic rubric, it takes longer time to create and score. So let's see. Examples for, let's see, we have in here. Yeah. In the case of performance-based task rubric, holistic, we have one column score, the second column criteria to see how it works. Scores go from 20 to 5. So the highest score possible, the criteria, let's see, for 20, it says the students are completely prepared. They speak clearly at the time and don't mispronounce words. They demonstrate clear understanding. Let's see, for the score 15, students are mostly prepared, speak clearly most of the time, demonstrate adequate understanding. Let's see, for score 10, students are somewhat prepared. They speak clearly most of the time, but mispronounce words often. Let's see, for score 5, students are not prepared. They often mumble the words and can't be understood. So now let's see an example for the analytic rubric. Okay, in this case, we have the criteria in the first column. Then we have scores 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. The criteria they have here is preparedness, then speaks clearly, then summary, then content, and finally communication or comprehensibility. Let's see. For preparedness, they have the score number 4. It says students are completely prepared. For number 3, students are mostly prepared. Number 2, students are somewhat prepared. For number 1, students are not prepared. Let's see, for example, for the second criterion speaks clearly. Score 4, students speak clearly all the time. Score 3, students speak clearly most of the time. Score 2, students speak clearly most of the time, but mispronounce words often. And number 1, students mumble the words and cannot be understood. There are a lot of mispronunciations. So that's how it works. I think it's clear what this rubric, how it works. Okay, that's all.